Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to go through the books that I read in July, just kind of give you a reading update. I read a ton of different genres, and unfortunately I wish I had read more than what I read. I am a teacher, so I tend to use the summer as a means to catch up on my TBR, but unfortunately, like real life kind of got in the way, and I was in a little bit of a reading slump, so I wasn't as productive as I wanted to be, but I did get through. Let me count: one, two, three, four, five, six, eight. Which is kind of low for me. But I enjoyed a lot of the books that I read, and I just kind of want to go through briefly where I'm at with my current reading and then what I accomplished. So I'll start with the romance. The first book of the month that I read was Loving the Legend by Kit Gray. It's a basketball romance. It was wonderful. I think for me, the biggest thing about this book that I really loved was the kind of grief representation. The main character loses his parents at a young age and is struggling with depression and anxiety surrounding that grief as he gets older, and it kind of informs a lot of his decisions. It is a thick book. She is chunky, but I still really enjoyed it. It's spicy. It is very spicy. I'm not typically like a spice person. I don't really do well with like rating spice, but this was spicy for me. The other one that was spicy that a physical copy for was Party of Three by Christopher Rice, who is, yes, that Christopher Rice. And this is an romance. It is poly, and it's done in a really genuine way. I mean, I haven't read a lot of like polyamorous relationships in books, but I thought that this starts with an established couple, and they reconnect with one of the partners in the couple, his old friend from the military, and it sort of progresses from there. And I just thought it was done in a way that genuinely made me feel like the relationship was going to work out with the three of them. I think a lot of times, even in just like real life, people that I know that are in thruples or who are an established couple who bring in a third, it's part of me is always not skeptical, but like I'm wondering like how everyone feels loved and that they're getting enough attention from every partner. And I just felt like it's short, it's a little novella, but it did a really great job of establishing that connection between all three of the main characters. So I really enjoyed that one. The other two are Common Goal and Role Model by Rachel Reid. So if you follow me on Instagram, Common Goal is probably my least favorite of the Game Changers series so far. I just felt like out of the two main characters within there, I really only liked one, and the other one just felt sort of like he was there. And as a couple, I don't know if it made sense to me, but Role Model is probably my favorite book in the Game Changer series, and that includes Heated Rivalry with Shane and Ilya. And I just felt like Harris and Troy as a couple was amazing. And if you've read the Game Changer series, I still haven't read The Long Game. I know I need to, but that is hopefully coming this month. I need to make time for it. Now, the other book that I read My Fair Brady by Brian D. Kennedy. This was wonderful. It's YA, the only YA book that I read this month. But it's like a queer retelling of My Fair Lady. And it's set in high school. And I'm a theater kid at heart. I grew up doing theater. I majored in theater in college. And I just thought it was such like a nice homage, like a callback to what it was like to be in high school back then, and to be gay and like trying to figure yourself out and find confidence. And I thought that both characters were really well written, and I really enjoyed the story. I also read Road to Ruin by Hana, which is a queer um, sci-fi fantasy book. It gives Mad Max vibes. I actually read this. I'm in a book club and I read this book for book club. It was my pick and my book club was not a fan. And I think it was because there's a lot of world building in this. I think it makes it difficult for someone who's not used to sci-fi to come in and just kind of like pick up, because there's like new vocabulary. There's like establishing that setting and like the rules of the universe, and it just wasn't a really great entry point for the other people in my group. I personally, I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite book. I would say probably the 3 out of 5 stars, but it does have a bisexual main character who kind of gets torn between two people in a relationship, a prince from one kingdom and a princess from another, and she sort of like doesn't know how she feels about either one of them. But I think it's like this is part of a trilogy, and I think it leads into a polyamorous relationship. So the other 3 books, one of these I'm still reading, but the other 3 books that I'm going to talk about all have like religious not trauma, religious undertones. And the first one is This Is My Body by Lindsay King Miller, and she wrote The Z Word, which was like a queer zombie book. This was really good. I couldn't put this down. It's about a queer woman who grows up in a very strict Catholic house, and then she kind of separates herself from her mother and her uncle, who kind of like put her through this traumatic experience as a child. But then her daughter gets possessed by a demon as an adult, and so she has to go back to seek help from her uncle. And it was wild. That's all I can say. I couldn't put it down. I really enjoyed it. I wish the ending had been more like pow, but I still, if that makes sense, I know that doesn't make sense. I'm just thinking about the vibes of the book. Really enjoyed this one. And then the other, this is Crafting for Sinners by Jenny Kiefer. This was a wild ride. This is basically a queer woman gets trapped in a craft store, and it's a survival horror novel. So like it's run by a mega church and they're hunting her within the store itself. A lot of fun, some gore, some religious undertones as well, but such a fun book. I really enjoyed it. And then the other book that I'm reading, I'm like in the middle of, so some of this was read in July, but obviously I'm going to finish it in August, is Gay the Pray Away by Natalie Naudus. This follows a young girl who's in a religious cult, and she doesn't like realize she's in a cult, but then one day in the library she picks up One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, and it opens her eyes to like things she's been feeling but couldn't necessarily put a voice to. And then she meets another girl who comes into her church and who also has the same feelings, and they kind of have like a secret relationship. I'm really enjoying them. I think there's like a level of, I don't know why religion seems to be a weirdly prominent theme in the last 3 books I've read, but it just and it might be because religion as an idea and an entity within like queer life and like queer culture, it makes sense why it's in some queer horror books, but it also in a YA book like Gay the Pray Away, looking at how religion influences like how you navigate the world, especially when you're raised in a setting where differing opinions kind of like impact your life and your worldview. That's it. That's all I've read in July. I wish I had been more productive, but I thought that I had a wide range of authors and genres, and I would say it was a productive month for me. I'm hoping August is better. I might have to post a video next week about my TBR for August. Maybe that'll hold me more accountable. But thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a happy reading month.